Hi, everyone. Welcome to Freebird Spirit YouTube channel and the discussion, Love is the Wisdom Behind Awakening, discussion 34, correct?
33?
I think that was last time.
Okay, whatever. I thought last time it was 32. I don't know.
I think we're on 34, but it'll be written correctly in the description. So we'll figure it out. Anyways, it's good to be here with you, Chris, and dive into some of these discussions and talk it through and dive into the love. And so today we are going to be talking about empathy and love and narcissism and some things. So I'm going to hand it to you, Chris, to kind of paint the picture for us and start the discussion. So I'm going to hand it over.
Getting really lonely under this bus.
You got that.
I think that what's been really on my mind a lot lately is, well, people keep bringing up the word narcissism. Let me try it again. Narcissism. But it gets thrown around a lot, so it's not really clear. We tend to label things. But I think what really resonated with me this week was that we're really talking about our ability to be empathic, to have empathy for other people. And I've really tried to spend some time, even when anybody comes in the house and tells me something. And I've had a number of deaths around me this week. So one of my close friends' brother dropped dead, and another person who also is a friend called me yesterday to tell me he's terminally ill and he's going to be dying shortly. And none of us knew that was coming. And so it was, it's sort of like those are those big moments. And I noticed there was a part of me when I got the one phone call that I sort of went, no, that's enough. And after I hung up, I thought, why didn't I stay with it? Why didn't I? So I did some processing about that. But what finally came up was the piece about empathy, that when somebody tells us something, to really listen and to really try and feel both our own feelings and what they're expressing in a way that we can hold the space for them, right? So I think it's complicated. I think we tend to throw the words around a lot, but I think empathy is a pretty big piece. And of course, Brene Brown does that. She did a whole book on empathy, but it's out here. It's to actually do the work of being empathic, I think is some of what Mata was talking about weeks ago, about love, about the frequency and the vibration, being able to hold the space for somebody else without getting in their stuff. What we talk about all the time about empaths, but I think in some ways we're not quite sure what that is.
So this is a little different than, I know a lot of our viewers are empaths already. Yeah. And so, but this is different. This is a little bit different that we're talking to everyone. So as far as the ability to have empathy. And you brought up too a little bit before coming on in regards to the political arena. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah. The one thing Debbie and I have in common is this constant sense of activism and wanting to do something about the various things in the world and how to bring spirituality into that. And that's where I think the overlap happened, was that I was thinking about how important it is that people vote. But what you often hear is that people will like, I don't care. I can't do anything about it anyway. You know, that's where we don't have empathy about people we've hurt. I'm doing a revision on the White Weddings book, and I just finished the part about Mattel and the conditions under which toys are made. And I was very aware while I was working on it, because the other stuff was already up, that we don't have empathy in a way where we don't have empathy toward the people who are making $8 a day, toward the children who are living in dormitories in order to make a wedding gown or a Barbie doll. We don't have empathy toward that. Somehow we shut ourselves off from that.
That's a good word right there. Shut ourselves off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of well, you know the phrase,
Protection, right?
I can't do anything about it, so why should I worry about it, right?
Right.
I think what we need is sort of an empathy revolution where we spend more time understanding and feeling the hardship people are going through so that we can do something about it. That's what the voting is about. It's about the empathy that goes toward the people who need access to health care, you know, toward the LGBTQ community, which is hurting right now from all the violence and the racism. I mean, you know, today we just had a funeral for a young man who got stabbed to death, and I was only imagining what his mother was going through. So, you know, it's that kind of, that's when you vote, when you feel it.
You feel something.
Yeah. And we kind of waited, like what was it, the guys who was at Tennessee where they were kicked out of the legislature? Those two African Americans.
Yeah.
We kind of waited for them to like get the crowd stirred up. So we have to stir it up before we can have empathy.
Right. So if we sorry you guys, I have allergies, so you're going to see me do that a lot. So we need to get out in front of the bus is what we're saying. So with the empathy, we need to get out in front of the bus. We need and not so we can be responding to the needs of our people, of humanity, rather than react to from a deep strong emotion, like George Floyd, or you know, it got the globe moving, because a lot of energy, a lot of feeling, it was in our face. We need to already be out in front of that bus with understanding of a deeper understanding and empathy for humanity, and where the needs are, because again, until everybody's free, nobody's free, right?
Yeah.
Until everybody's helped. No, we're all lacking. You know what I mean? So you could take that in so many different directions, but we need to get out in front of the bus. Mm-hmm. So understanding. So if you find yourself, like you were sharing a little bit, Chris, where you had heard your friend was letting you know, and it was really big in the moment. Mm-hmm. And so that protection went up, mm-hmm. and you backed away, right? So just by recognizing it, you're able to go, okay, I can do better. I'm going to move towards it. This is not too big for me. Mm-hmm. It may feel like it's going to be too big, but it's not.
Right.
So there's opportunities for all of us, I feel, in regards to being more and I know that I'm not talking about being an empath. That's a completely different area. That's a whole nother show. I'm talking about being empathic, or having empathy in situations and stepping in with people.
Well, what is it? What is empathy?
So if you were sharing about this mom who lost a child recently, right, in your neighborhood, to a stabbing, and you chose to step in the energy with this mom and what that must have been like for her. And in doing that alone, you're moving energy of love towards her.
Mm-hmm.
You're wrapping her with a hug.
Mm-hmm.
And so she doesn't have to do this alone. It's too
Yeah.
hard, right? So you made a choice in that moment to move towards of that. Must be devastating for her as a mom to lose a child to a hate crime.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So and then that brings up a whole nother thing of like, oh my gosh, our world is still so effed up, and that we still have so much hate and division. However, you linking into that mom is causing people to come together, instead of you're healing the division by linking into with that mom's energy, right? And to the situation. We want to link in together.
Exactly. That's exactly right. The power we have when we link together is unimaginable. We don't even know how powerful we are when we link in together. In those brief moments when I've had that experience, it's been amazing. And when you're in social movements and you're in the middle of something, there isn't anything bigger. The vibration is so huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the 80s, the women at the peak of the women's movement, there were concerts, right? And the concerts were activists who had songs that we could all sing together, right? And so we would link arms and we would all sing, and there'd be hundreds of us in an auditorium. And you can only imagine what the vibration was.
I'm telling
But those things are rare, but we can make them more common. So
things change when you link, when you
yeah.
link in, you guys. So when you go to vote, I don't care if you are independent. I don't care. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Greenpeace. I don't care.
I
When
don't
you
care
go,
which your nose.
I'm sorry. It's going to be a thing, you guys. It's going to be a thing. I'm not doing magic or anything. It's a thing. So when you go to the polls to vote, when you're voting on issues or you're voting for a candidate, you empathy comes into play when you're voting for, let's say, an item, of healthcare. Is this going to help people, or is it going to alienate people? Those are your two choices. What are you going to choose? If you step into empathy, you will always choose correctly. I don't care what you are, what affiliation. When you step into that empathy piece, you always will choose the right way of, if it's going to help humanity. It will always be right. And that's where that empathy piece comes in. If you're maneuvering out of a narcissistic energy, it just won't.
Yeah, the narcissist can't do other.
It's not about others. It's about what's the best for me.
Right.
And they cannot. They're not stepping into the energy of others and others' needs, or they can't even. They if they don't know what a hungry child means, So they stop school lunches. So what? Doesn't affect me. So they don't even have a concept that there's a human being on the other end of that that is suffering. They don't, narcissists don't have that. They can't conceive that. So, and there's a spectrum, right? So, a true narcissist they don't learn. They can't learn, right? So if you're a true, but if we grew up in and we were only given this much and we only know this much, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, another human being. Oh yeah. So that means you can learn, right? So you're not a narcissist. You can learn. I'm just trying to bring in that, there's times where we might not have been aware that everybody that worked that Walmart is connected to a horrible ring of child labor, horrible labor laws on the south of the border. You didn't know that. So you shop at Walmart all the time, not knowing that people are literally dying to
It's
bring.
really not caring. They might know, they don't care.
Right. That's a narcissist.
But it's also empathy, right?
Right. Lack of empathy.
You're not being able to be, you're not able to be empathic about the people who are affected by it. I mean, we tend to get into this intellectual thing. Walmart's a good example. I was talking to someone last week about the fact that they shop at Walmart, and I was trying to find a way to talk about it without it being critical.
Right.
And so I brought the topic up, and the response was, I don't care what they do. I don't care what they do. I don't want to spend that kind of money on something else. So is that kind of, that's where we get stuck in that place. And it's how do I want to put this? It's more than what we spend on things. It's what kind of world do we want to live in?
Right.
And is it a world where we care about each other? Yeah. Or is it a world where we watch our pennies? It's sort of that kind of thing. And I go through that all the time with what I'm going through, because so many people around me, when I get them stuff, they're like, oh, no, 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 no. It's like, you don't understand. There is no money. There's no money. There's just the feelings we have for each other and the support we give each other. It's not about money. So I think the minute we start thinking about the money, we stop thinking about the people.
Right. And it's important to understand that, again, this is just an opportunity for stepping in the energy of love and awakening. Right.
We said the word opportunity. What happened?
It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What happened?
You look like you paused for a reason.
Well, I'm trying to get my words correctly. So there's an opportunity here for us, because I know that there's a lot of people who go, well, you don't understand my financial situation, and I don't have another store besides Walmart in my town to go to that I can afford to get the little things I need, and completely understand, completely empathetic, empathic to that 100%.
Yeah.
So in that opportunity here is just to, again, not throw up a wall and say, well, I'm just not going to think about it when I go shopping at Walmart. I'm not going to think what I'm doing. You kind of put it behind you and you just do your thing, because so those are the walls of protection going up for yourself, correct, in those situations, because you are empathic in general, but it's too big for you, right? So there are other ways to to maneuver with that, an opportunity to kind of check, okay, well, I'm going to really put this on my prayer list where I'm praying for the people who I don't see, but I know for fact, and you can look this up, that are in these situations, that in these horrible work conditions and so forth, that I'm going to be praying for them. And when I'm at Walmart, because that's your only choice, and I'm going to pray the whole time I'm there. I'm going to walk through the aisles and just spread love and prayer for you know, for those people or whatever. You know what I mean? There's other ways that you can work with that instead of ignoring it, right?
Right. And then you're going to vote.
And then you're going to vote as well.
That they be treated better.
Vote for better treatment of workers.
One of the richest corporations in the world won't hire people full-time because then they will have to pay them benefits. So the taxpayer for the richest, one of the richest companies in the world is actually paying for their insurance, their health care. So that's where you say the imbalance is so powerful, and that we really need to understand that empathy goes farther than, just putting your arm around a friend.
Right.
It is a form of activism where you're seeing the connections. What I was struck by with what you just said was that these structures around us put us in a position where we have to shop at a store that we know is doing these heinous things, right? And so the structure is really what's been doing it. It's
right.
And to find empathy, the empathy to do something that's actively engaged in changing it, whether it's prayer or whether it's voting or whether it's both, or whether it's showing up at a gathering of the World Trade Organization and saying, you can't do this anymore to people, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in the middle of writing about Mattel and Disney, and it's beyond big. It's beyond big. That 80% of wedding gowns are made by Chinese women who make $8 an hour, $8 a day. Sorry, $8 a day. And their standard of living is lower than ours, but $8 a day is barely any money. And they're living in dormitories, and they're young, and they're sewing, and they're exposed to all sorts of stuff. And they've said they took on corporate social responsibility measures, but the stuff hasn't changed. So so they're doing it in Thailand and Indonesia and Mexico and Bangladesh and India and various places. And it's just, it is the structure we've allowed because we're not empathizing with the people who are directly affected. Okay.
So then another opportunity coming through with this, Chris, I feel, is why do we feel the need to protect our hearts and minds from the atrocities around the world in regards to making our lives more comfortable?
Yeah.
So it's just, I know for me, it's important not to hide from that awareness. And it's so easy to get caught up in our lives and forget that, all these things are going on in the world, even just the women's rights issues. We get these stories, we get passionate about one story, and we're on that story for a while in that narrative, and then we just go on. So how do we continue in the energy of love and empathy and creative change and activism. How can we stay in that? How do we not get distracted?
Well, I think we're going to get distracted. I think it's just life that we're going to get distracted. But I think that we have to sort of have an anchor where we say, I'm going to go back to it. I was reminded, I don't really want to tell the whole story because it's too awful, of the two women who were very viciously assaulted in India.
India.
It was, my whole body reacted to it. I mean, talk about what an empath goes through. And here I am sitting here alone, and I don't have any place to put this, and I'm like in pain, right?
Mhm.
So I go out on the deck, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, this can't happen. This can't happen. There's got to be something done about it. And so I'm trying to breathe, and I'm trying to, it's a frequency issue, it's like we also want to maintain some high level of frequency at the same time to sort of make the change. But I came back in the house and I sat down and I looked through YouTube, and I found that women in that country had reacted, and they had reacted so strongly that they went after the abusers' homes, and these women were setting it on fire, and it was an extreme moment. I felt better because they took some action, but the fact that we're living in this patriarchal social order that's so violent and so destructive, that it was a moment, right? It's a moment. What do you do with those feelings?
Right. Yeah.
What do you do with that? You talk to a friend, you write it down, you look around. Mostly you try and meditate and breathe and find your way through it and say to yourself, oh my God, there must be some other way I can help. And it's very harsh. Some of what's going on around us is very harsh.
And
So how we do it,
we're responsible for it.
we've created it, haven't we?
We've created it. We're responsible for it.
Yeah.
So we need to continue to do what we can to keep it in the light. And that this is wrong, horrific. That is, I mean, but the main thing that comes in is we're all connected. And so we're not only connected to the women who are, it's horrific what happened to them, but we're also connected to the men who chose to do that.
Yeah.
So we are
not
responsible. We created this. We're part of the creation and the idealistic way of living and whatnot. And until we make change in our own energy, how do we expect others to change as well?
Yeah.
Another thing with that is people look at that and go, how can God allow that to happen? God didn't allow that to happen. What are you talking about? You can't, the blaming of God on everything or handing him, you know what I mean? No, this has nothing to do with God. In fact, it's very godless. It's very the opposite. And so we are responsible. We need to take responsibility instead of we keep handing it to others or to God.
What would Mother Theresa say about that?
Let's ask her. you know, it's interesting. She shows me herself. It's just so. This is true empathy. Like she literally shows me herself walking alongside these women, stripped just like they are. So I feel like there's some symbol there.
Symbol. Yeah.
That is the depth of empathy. So the fact, oh, she's saying, so the fact that, Chris, that I did the same thing, but she's talking to you. Your guttural reaction, you're feeling it all, and the inability to breathe. She said, that alone, just stepping into that energy, brings connection and change and awareness and so forth. The more people who can step into that depth of empathy, when they hear these stories, that is the shift, the global shift.
Yeah.
So the more we can guide into these, stepping into the empathy of those who are going through troubles and hardships and the depths of challenges, and that just in the inequality of what's that word? I'm seeing it, but I can't. This is a horrific inequalities that happen to those around the world. The more that you can step into that energy with them, to hold that space with them, that's what literally shifts the global energy in regards to it, in making change. Because a lot of us go, how can we help? We don't live in India, or we don't live in China. We don't, our kids are eating we send lunch with them. You know what I mean? So we don't have these issues but you can step into the energy of it, hold space for it, for them, for these individuals. Go to them. You have the ability to literally close your eyes and take your energy to these people, sit with them, visualize them, and that alone, she says, will bring about the change that's needed.
That's the Walmart story too. When you say I'm in the store and I'm praying, is to visualize the workers who can no longer lift their arms, who have no health insurance, who have babies being born with hydrocephaly. To be able to visualize those families and sort of think about them when you shop, and being grateful, right, for the work that they did. So that's the stuff about lifting the vibration up.
Yes. And she says, don't turn your head from the leper.
Yeah.
Go move towards it. We always feel like, oh, well, that's too much. That's too much. Whatever it is, it's too much. I can't handle it. You can, she says. You can, and you will. She says, move towards it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's saying that's a false narrative, that we feel like we can't handle something. Oh, I can't handle that. That's too much.
Right.
It feels too much. I'm feeling too much of the feels right now. She says that's false. That's a false narrative. You can handle it, and you will. Just move towards things. Change that narrative in your head that it's too much for you. You are a powerful being. you're more powerful than you can imagine. You can hold a lot of space. You can hold a lot for people. You can, you are connected to the, you are connected to the, you can handle this. So it's false to say otherwise. That's not the narrative. Change that narrative, she says. She's saying also that empathy is not always a hug either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But empathy is a pure energy of love.
Mm-hmm.
Truly.
Yeah. Yeah. When my friends told me they were going to die, and that they had cancer, it hit close to home in so many ways, right? So
Right.
I think I was empathic to a point, and then I think, okay, I can't
Trigger.
take it anymore.
Yeah.
And what she's saying is, yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can. You can take it all in, and you can be present with it.
And it's okay to take that breath, right?
Yeah.
Can't hold my breath this long. I need to take a breath. That's okay. Take your breath, but come back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what stops some of us from being empathic, which is that we start to think about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We stop being other oriented and start saying, oh no, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
it's too much.
It's too much.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But it's not. That's not a true narrative.
Well, she would know.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Awesome. So recapping this a little bit here, we have empathy as an activism. So because a lot of us ask, how can we be an activist in this time? How can I help? How can I be? I can't have my legs on the ground. I can't. My feet on the ground to go and do and for whatever reasons we can't all be there at every little thing that's going on. Here is a great way to do it from your own home. And that's stepping into your empathic. You all have you're all on the spectrum of having empathy at one level or another, unless you're the pure narcissist, which I doubt you're watching this if you are. So I believe that everybody here is on the spectrum of having empathy. We are all connected that way. So this is the love.
What love really means, right?
Mm-hmm. What does love
mean?
mean?
Really, I think, well, you can ask her this, but I'm thinking that love is synonymous with, that empathy is synonymous with love.
Yes, it is the activism of love.
Yeah, there you go.
So
we now need to change the logo. Love is the wisdom behind awakening. We're going to change to love is the empathic.
Activism is the activism. Empathy is the activism of love.
Yes, behind awakening. We're going to get this acronym. It's going to be like this long.
It's going to be super long.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, that was great. It was really good thinking. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Chris, for guiding us in this and bringing so much more depth and awareness to it for us to be able to step into activism.
And thank you, Mother Teresa, who just came to me at the last moment.
I,
So
I
it's
love
like, what about me?
it. Yes, I love
Like,
it.
yeah.
So, to the family out there, love you. And we are just excited that you're here with us with these discussions. Love hearing from you in the comments. And as we are all connected, right? Part of this together. So until next time, please take care of yourself and be active. Love you guys.
Love you.